like, wow, you are on a mission.
The only way that we break the crisis is through prevention.
I've done a mental health first aider course twice now. I wouldn't do it again.
An emotion is just energy in motion. So what is the energy that I'm feeling or not feeling? And does that energy mean there's something I need to share and release?
Mm-hmm.
Or does that lack of energy mean that something I need that I'm not getting? Now that's one hell of a mission.
It feels like that's a really bold thing to say. Hello, and thank you for tuning in to the Yorkshire Business Podcast. Today, I'm really excited to sit down with Hannah Dunn from Mind Wellbeing. This is possibly one of my most favourite conversations that we've had on the podcast yet. Do tune in. Hannah's mission is huge, but she's not deterred. It's a really important mission, and I'd love you to learn more about it. My name's Chloe. I'm the host of the Yorkshire Business Podcast, and I'm the founder of OneSource HR.
My name is Hannah Dunn, and I am from Doncaster. I have lived here most of my life.
Tell us about Mind Wellbeing. What do you do?
It's a big thing. So we've got kind of an umbrella of Mind Wellbeing. Now, Mind Wellbeing is a campaign for the most part. And our campaign is to change the language that people use around mental health. So it's our firm belief, and this comes from my own personal experiences, that whilst ever we use the word mental, we're never going to break the stigma.
Mm-hmm.
There's too much attached to that one word. And actually we're wasting resources trying to break the stigma around a word when we could just use different language that makes people feel different.
Yeah.
So our overarching message is wanting to change the language from mental health to mind wellbeing. Now that's one hell of a mission.
Mm-hmm.
So then it was a case of, right, well, strategically, how can we do that? And how can we embed the other half of our mission into that? So when I came up with the concept of mind wellbeing, beneath that, it was also the only way that we break the crisis is through prevention.
Mm-hmm.
That has to be the priority. And for us to deal with this at like seed level before there's a problem, before there's an issue.
Yeah.
And that's the only way we're going to break it. So we have produced 2 models, one for children, which is character-based and story-led, and it's called The World of Wonderful, and it's a character called Wonderful, and he wonders about the emotions that fill him. It's a curriculum that's in schools now from September for children aged 3 to 7.
Yeah.
And the reason we've done that is because children aged 3 to 7 is when your core beliefs about yourself are pretty much nailed in the brain.
Yeah.
And yes, we know through neuroplasticity that we change them, but it's after that point, it's a repair job.
Mm-hmm.
It's not it just is what it is.
Yeah.
So that's the children's side of it. And then the adult side of it is we've created a program called Mind Wellbeing Champions. So we believe that wherever you've got initiatives like mental health first aiders, which are great, but they're reactive and reparative,
Mm-hmm.
you actually need the preventative side of that to make sure that that's not the go-to. It's like the worst case, we've got that if we need it, but here's how we just embed our culture.
Yeah.
And Mind Wellbeing Champions are educated on just nurturing strong sense of self and educating adults on the stuff we never got taught about at school.
Yeah. Gosh, it's incredible. Honestly, I don't know where to start because we've spoke, but only really like briefly. And I understood a bit about your work, but like, wow, you are on a mission, and I think it's just amazing. And everything you've said there about prevention and starting at that age and those core beliefs, like really, really solidifying, it's so true. I just think it's fantastic, really. I think it's really interesting what you say about the language, right? Because you're a trauma-informed practitioner, I'm a trauma-informed practitioner, and language is something that I focus on loads in my work. Now, I work in predominantly sexual misconduct and prevention of sexual harassment and sexual misconduct. And I spend a lot of time with management teams kind of analysing the language that we use. Yeah, because it is, and I'm going to regurgitate a little bit here what I was speaking about with a previous guest I've had on. But we do something where we have a paragraph and we ask people, like, what do you think to these words? What do you think to the paragraph? What is this person trying to say? And at first, it's a bit like, well, they all mean the same thing. But then we start to unpack, like, what are the moral connotations of some of those words? And how are we caveating by saying things like, I'm not saying it's their fault, but they need to take responsibility for their actions. The words that we use, it doesn't always come from a negative or harmful place, but actually it can have a really negative and harmful impact if we're not careful. So trying to unpack some of that, because everybody's listening to what we're saying all the time. They're, acutely tuned in to the words that we choose to use. And I've done a mental health first aider course twice now. I wouldn't do it again. I don't really know why I did it the second time, because I knew after the first time that I wasn't on board with the teachings of it. And it feels like that's a really bold thing to say in my profession and in our kind of current society. And that's what really drew me to your work, the how different it is, that it's about prevention and the change in language. And I know when we spoke initially, we discussed like some of the language stuff. Do you just want to pick up on that and explain, like, for the listeners, what these sort of language shifts are?
Oh, yeah, 100%. So, I mean, first, if we look at mental health first aider, so you've got the word mental there, which we've already touched on the reason why we should just scrap that word entirely. So the word mental actually in its origin was impartial, and it just meant thought and connotations around intellect.
Mm-hmm.
But then late 19th, early 20th centuries is when institutionalisation started happening and people were put in psychiatric wards and things. And that's when the word mental became something that no one wanted to be associated with.
Yeah.
And words create reactions in our body. So if we think about it, for all of them years, that one word creates fear and shame.
Mm-hmm.
So you're trying to use a word that when someone isn't already feeling great, is just as scary.
Yeah.
But then you're expecting them to relate to it and open up more.
Yeah.
And seek connection and community. It doesn't make them do that.
No.
So the word mental in itself is a huge one. But then you've got health and first aid. So health is quite a black and white medical term.
Yeah.
Our well-being is an experience. Our minds are amazing and infinitely possible on all things. And you pigeonholing something to good and bad and this then mental picture. And then you've got first aid. So if I think about first aid, I think about a plaster on a wound, a plaster. So we're trying to fix the problem.
Yeah.
Oh, I need fixing. I'm broken.
Yeah.
The whole language we use in the arena just reaffirms to someone who doesn't feel great about themselves that they're not great. Yeah, they're broken. Yeah, they need fixing. It doesn't help in any which way. And we're just going about it in the wrong way by, well, let's just raise awareness that we know it's not great. No, let's just raise awareness that we're all human beings. We're all got our own struggles in our own ways. And just completely flip the which came from an experience of me having a complete breakdown when I just had my little boy. And the reason I'm so passionate about it is from the outside, you'd have gone, she's got everything. Successful job, she's had the wedding, she's got the baby, she's got the house. I ticked all the boxes that you meant to tick, and it all just fell apart. And it took a lot of reflection from my part as to how and why that happened, which took me even looking back at my family patterns about what happened there with my mum and dad, how did that happen, and where has this kind of pattern come from, which was really, 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 really painful. Now, luckily, I had available to me resources to help me through that process. But again, I have challenges with them resources, because things like therapy and all of those things, they're great, but they can also keep you stuck in a negative place if you stay in that process too long. But when I was in that process, part of my journey, I was like, right, I wanted to completely change what I do for a job. I definitely didn't want to go back to the corporate world. And I volunteered at a school and started to do my trauma-informed learnings. I became a Thrive practitioner, and I decided to do some research because I'd thought about the word mind. And what happened for me was, it was when I was seeking help that I saw the logo for the word mind, for the Mind charity. And it just made me feel at ease.
Yeah.
So I was manically Googling what the hell is wrong with me. Oh, I feel like that, I feel like that, I feel like that. And this must mean X, Y, and Z. And I came across that and I just was like, and it just brought some ease. And then from then I could more calmly question what was going on.
Yeah.
And when I started asking people what they thought about when they thought of the word mind, it was words like wonder, creativity, noticing, imagination, well-being, all these words that are so much kinder.
Yeah.
They literally make you feel at ease.
Yeah.
And if we could list the qualities that we want in our children, and we want to bottle them up and hope that they never lose them, it's them qualities.
It is, yeah. You're right.
And when you go to therapy, I mean, for people who have been to therapy or counselling, in the marinas, they teach you to wonder about how you're feeling, to notice about how you're feeling, and to question it with kindness and compassion.
Yeah.
And imagine, and they encourage you to tap back into all the things you used to do as a child. And so it was like, well, why is that not just how we talk about it anyway?
Yeah. Why are we not preventatively doing that?
Yeah.
And, you know I've been to therapy, and my therapist used to say to me, be kind to yourself. And I used to walk out of there thinking, be kind to yourself. And it took me a really, really long time to actually understand what that meant and what it meant to me. And it's great to be kind of taught these strategies reactively. I do wonder how much more well we would all be if, one, we were taught proactively how to take care of our minds better and our well-being. If we moved away from so much of the heavy medicalised language when we talk about our emotions. People will say, I'm anxious, I'm depressed, and they're claiming it as if it's a personality trait. And that's not anybody's fault. That's just the way that society has taught us to talk about our feelings. We haven't got the ability to say, I feel sad, I feel angry, I feel overwhelmed, I feel frustrated, I feel trapped, to use the right words to describe how we're feeling. And I think the last thing for me would be to acknowledge actually how circumstantial a lot of this is.
Oh gosh, yeah.
If you're living in poverty, if you're living with abuse, if you're, suffering from loneliness and isolation, then yes, you are going to have all these feelings. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. It's not normal.
You are.
No.
That's the thing. It's not. It's a natural energy.
Yeah.
To feel, to have within you, if they are your circumstances.
Yeah.
And that's it. And so the whole premise is about making the whole conversation more human, so we can genuinely become more connected and generate community around it. Which fundamentally, if someone is having challenges with their well-being and their state of mind, it's because they don't have those things.
Yeah.
And how do we get them things? But if they think about themselves and their minds as these innate, infinite possibility things, and actually when our minds aren't being kind to us, it's generally because we're not meeting a need.
Yeah.
And so if we thought about our emotions, one of our things is to get over the I am, and to try and move to the I feel.
Yeah.
One of our education pieces is that an emotion is just energy in motion.
Mm-hmm.
So it is. So what is the energy that I'm feeling or not feeling? And does that energy mean there's something I need to share and release?
Mm-hmm.
Or does that lack of energy mean that something I need that I'm not getting?
Yeah.
And do that. And it just firstly, it just separates you from the experience that can be just all-consuming, and puts you in a completely different frame of mind. And that well-being instead of health is like there's two-pronged with that. Well-being, it automatically is just more softer and positive. And really, it's about us all getting to a state that we can be well at being.
Yeah.
And be comfortable in our own skin.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we are all connected beings. That's what we are.
Yeah.
So again, bringing that together just completely changes the whole thing.
Yeah, it does. I think it feels more accessible and more achievable. If you talk about well-being, you feel like things are possible, like I could achieve a good state of well-being. Whereas when you think about health, you think, well, I've got bad health or I've got good health, but I'm limited in what I can do about it. So I completely agree with you there. And I think the energy thing is really interesting, because I genuinely do believe that is how I've addressed things, and the sense of community as well. Like when I was coming out of therapy, the whole thing was I had to make a plan for what I was going to do next to keep caring for myself. And part of that plan was, how did I build a new community around myself? Like, what was I going to do? How was I going to meet new people? And having that was really, really pivotal to me being able to come out the other side of actually some really, really dark times, and led me to my hobby now is hand balancing. So I'm more falling than balancing the majority of the time. But for those kind of, couple of hours every week, I'm not thinking about anything else. When I'm upside down, I'm just in the moment. It's like me, my body, my breath. I've had to get really connected to myself, like that mind muscle kind of connection to work out where you are when you're upside down. And I think we might think like, oh, I can't afford therapy, I haven't got access to this. There's a lot we can do, right from breathing. Oh my gosh, use your whole lungs for starters.
Yeah.
You hear of some people, I heard of man that went to the doctors, and they were saying like you're only using like a third of your lungs to breathe. Have you tried like really taking in a deep breath? And yeah, it's so interesting.
The breath work is everything. Yeah, everything. And even your like cardio, exercise, all the exercises we're taught to do, everything is about your breath, your heart, and it all comes down to that. But what we do when we feel in a state of fear, your breath gets shallower. Yeah. And then the longer you stay in that state, then the more you associate yourself as being in this anxious state more and more, or constantly, or and then it's like I am my. But it's not. You're repeating an experience that at some point has served you. Yeah. In that way, that now doesn't. And I do think over recent years, even the word anxiety, and like anxiety is a medical term and should be I don't think even medically we should use mental health. I think we should use brain health, so we don't refer to any other organ than the organ's name in medicine. So even if in brain health they use the term anxiety, outside of that, we should get used to saying, I feel scared. Yeah. I feel worried. Yeah. But we don't, because I've actually done like role play exercises on this in training. And if someone says, I am anxious, my anxiety, it's a closed off sentence. Yeah. You're kind of expressing you're not all right, but you're not wanting someone to, or you're scared of someone coming in and receiving. Whereas if we say, I'm feeling scared, I'm feeling worried, 9 cases out of 10, if the person you're speaking to is semi-decent human, they're going to be, oh my gosh, okay, what's making you feel that way? Can I help? Yeah. Whereas I am anxious, my anxiety, we don't really respond to it. If anything, we kind of divert away from it because you almost don't want to get involved in that to the extent. So it really is massive, but breathwork's a huge part of not only the kids stuff but the adult stuff. Is the model that we've built up. Yeah, training.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I love what you said there about moving away from calling it mental health and calling it brain health. And here's my perspective. I don't think that will ever happen, because it will be the absolute downfall of what is modern psychiatry. Because as you will know, there's no brain scan, there's no chemical imbalance check you can do for any mental health condition that is categorised. There's no brain scan for bipolar disorder. There's no brain chemical imbalance check for it. You are diagnosed through the eyes of the practitioner that you're in front of. Mm-hmm. And so I don't think that, I think we're a long, long way off that happening, because it would be accepting that actually we've all been sold a bit of a scam, and it's really, really unhealthy, but it keeps a multi-trillion-dollar industry going. And I really, really admire your work and your vision, because you're doing something in opposition to that actually is really impactful and really, really important.
Yeah. The thing is that I think when I first decided, right, well, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do something with it. Firstly, it was a case of, right, well, not having any awareness or education about this at school led me to make certain life choices and certain ways of coping that weren't healthy but looked good. Yeah. Looked like I was fine. Mm-hmm. And you go, I actually look around and see so many people who are living in the same state but haven't reached the same level of breaking point that I that I did. Yeah. And yeah, we've got it wrong. Mm-hmm. And at some point, it is going to all break and come full circle, because it has to. has to, for humanity's sake.
Yeah.
Like, we've become that detached as to what makes us human.
Mm-hmm.
There is only one way back. And I do truly believe that this is the only way back.
Yeah.
To remind people of what we are, who we are, what we are meant to be doing. And if my life had to go to crisis for this, something good had to come from it.
Yeah.
So it was like, well, this is the good that's gonna come from it.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't expect my little boy parents not to be together and all of these things. Like, I'd spent my whole life with this like fantasy picture of how things were going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, right, well, if that's going to be a lot different than what I thought, then I'm certainly putting the experiences of my life so far to something positive.
Yeah.
So that hopefully less people get to the point that I did, and hopefully we can embed and develop the world of wonderful so every child gets access to that education. Because it's really sad, because where the state of affairs we're in at the moment is it's getting worse and worse, and CAMHS referrals for children are getting so much higher, anxiety, neurodiversity, all of these labels. You've got kids sat on waiting lists for what? What do you get at the end of that waiting list? A label that makes you feel less human, and what?
Yeah.
But then you've got a couple of generations of adults that were never taught any of this either.
Yeah.
Like, we've moved so far away from, like, I guess, spiritual wellness.
Yeah.
And the nature of who we are.
Yeah.
And it has to come full circle. And I do know it's a huge mission. Because, like you say, you're battling against, modern psychiatry. There's the thing where I get to with that, I go, there's a place for it, but it should be the exception.
Yeah.
There should be the vast majority living outside of that arena, and that's the absolutely exceptional circumstances where things have gone awry, well and truly.
Yeah.
Where we're headed is that actually the exceptional are the people who can live how we're meant to live, and the rest of us are in this like
Frantic, right? Yeah.
chaotic, frantic state. And it's then once you get the education piece out there, it becoming a daily choice to start making choices that are different.
Yeah.
That are for your well-being. But until you're educated, you don't know.
No.
I didn't know any of this stuff.
No.
And I was so mad when I was going through a crisis that I knew more about plant and Egypt and World War II than I did my own brain.
Yeah.
How my nervous system worked, how to breathe.
Yeah.
And like you say, that whole industry is now so expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It's been it's a luxury to be able to take yoga classes, and you've done yoga, right? Yeah. It's in your the videos for the children you were saying. Yeah, I mean, I learned a lot from yoga, about laying on the floor in a starfish shape and just really spreading my body and making myself feel safe through that open movement, and just the feeling that it gives you, like, I'm okay. Yes, I'm very exposed right now, because our natural kind of keep ourselves safe is to be really closed in. But it's almost a luxury to afford to learn that now.
Yeah. Which I think don't get me wrong, there's so many free resources out there, which are great. But it's a self-fulfilling thing, because you go, actually someone has to be self-motivated to do those things.
Yeah.
And generally, someone that's feeling challenging or challenges in that way haven't got a lot of self-motivation to do themselves. They need the community, they need the connection to encourage them.
Yeah.
And so then that's when generally you need the money, and then it becomes difficult. Whereas I kind of go, a lot of it's just so simple that it's not, when you get to the crux of it, it's not difficult. But we're just not taught it.
No.
Which is why we came up with the Mind Wellbeing Champions. And we've got a model for it. So like you've got your sense of self in the middle.
Yeah.
And it's all about nurturing and getting to know that, really.
Yeah.
And then we've got like different wheels. So the first wheel is the root of well-being, and that's all about understanding that an emotion is just energy. So each wheel has 8 segments. So that segment is 8 different ways of managing our energy.
Yeah.
And we go through them all, and then that'll be one part of the course. Then we'll revisit them again. We try and do it every quarter so that they've got some time to embed the skills in between. So the next one is then about the brain and mind mastering. We go through the executive functions. And through all this, we have an element of how it can be applied to work as well. But fundamentally what we're saying is if we pass on this education with practical tools, then if people know about it, are given time to embed healthy habits, and they know what works for them for managing their energy, they know where the strong points are cognitively, then that puts them in a really, really good space to develop strong life skills, which is the next wheel.
Yeah.
And then that fundamentally just feeds into what most people have seen in terms of the wheel of life, your relationships, your ability to do and cope, all of these things. So we do feel like we've come up with something quite unique in that most training is the passing on of knowledge and information. That's what a lot of schooling is.
Yeah.
It's a lot of theory. This is the knowledge. We'll pass it on to you. You've got the knowledge. Whereas this is a experience.
Yeah.
You're learning how to experience life a bit differently.
Yeah.
And by training people to do that for themselves, if done well, they will naturally want to do that and pass that on for their teams and things like that.
Yeah. And you do, because you feel like you've discovered some kind of magic when you tap into some of this stuff. You know, I went away on a retreat and which I was very lucky to be able to do. Lucky, I worked my backside off to do it, but yeah, lucky. And there was lots of stuff like meditation and all that jazz. And we had a sound bath, and honestly, it was incredible. It changed it changed my life, to be honest. Like what I experienced through like the energy and those different frequencies. I had the best night's sleep of my life for starters, but you know, it's music, it's movement. These things are accessible to all of us, and it only takes one of us to pass that magic on to somebody else.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love what you're doing. I think it's interesting. God, I feel like we could talk all day for starters. But you know, we don't learn about the mind, but we also don't really learn about our bodies. Like as women, we're like naturally cyclical, but there's still so much shame and stigma around that. It's only now in my 30s that, you know, been having periods for nearly 20 years where I can actually manage that and think, to an extent, I'm thinking, right, this time of the month, I'm not going to book in any kind of speaking or facilitating because I know I'm not at my best. I know how it impacts me cognitively. I know how it impacts my confidence and how I feel. But I wonder how different life would be for so many women if they were really taught to be in tune with their bodies from being children.
And that's definitely an avenue, which we're talking now like probably 3 years down the line.
Yeah.
But that's a goal. So what we're wanting to do with the World of Wonderful is, at the minute, we've got 3 to 7. So the programme at the minute finishes, we've got 12 core emotions and there's a storybook for everyone. And the series ends with Wonderful exploring surprise, and this brain boat comes along with all the parts of the brain, a member of the boat, and he's going to go on the boat and go on journeys of exploring his brain.
Mm-hmm.
So then for 7 to 11, the next bit is that. So that's like the mind mastery wheel of the adult training.
Yeah.
But then we want to develop on top of that then a teenage volume. So yes, the characters and the stories will probably disappear from that, but we want there to be the education as to not just from an anatomy point of view, physically, what happens to a boy and a girl through that time, but behaviourally, emotionally, what goes on for them, what works best for them at that time. I mean, there's a whole raft of studies as to, and I think some countries have adopted it, that teenagers actually should go to school, say 12 till 7, optimally, because they need so much more sleep, and actually they're not taking in anything in between these times, or minimal. There's so much that can be done in that area, but what we currently give teenagers as an education as to what growing up is
shocking. Poor. It's very, very poor.
And we're not, again, I think that contributes to the challenges that people are experiencing later on in life, because we are different. This is a completely different conversation, really, but I think we were taught wrong when we were at school. It was all about, there was such a big thing about, which is great, women being equal and just as good and all of those things, but almost a pressure as to, right, well, now you can do everything. So we've got like generations of women that think they have to do everything, which is where I think a lot of women's anxiety comes from now. And you've got loads of men out there that feel like their masculinity has been taken away and they don't really know what to do because women are out there nailing everything. And it's like, well, actually, if we actually knew what, because we are different, what naturally our traits are, then that'd make the journey just so much better, and we'd have a lot more respect, I think, for ourselves and for each other.
I think it is important to be able to know, like, individually, what are your innate character traits, and to an extent, yes, how your body functions feeds into that. Absolutely, massively. Ultimately, gender norms underpin all of the issues around violence, the loneliness epidemic, a lot of that stuff in society, and it is really unhealthy. You're right about women having it all. It's impossible to have it all, and it really is. We've looked at, if you look at the data of how men's and women's time is spent over the last kind of 4 decades, you can see that the hours spent for women career-wise has increased massively, but the hours spent on childcare and housework hasn't declined. So women do what we call the triple shift. They go to work, they do the housework, and they do all the caring responsibilities, whereas how men's time has been spent is quite plateaued. It's not actually changed that much. So, you know, we push these messages of equality because women are allowed in the workplace now, but life isn't still more equal for the majority of women. And it's a huge pressure, and it's a huge acknowledging that that's a pressure on men as well, because the kind of lies they've been sold about masculinity, you need to provide, but then you're weak if you ask for help. But you can't always provide without asking for help. It comes back to that community piece and being connected.
100%. In literally everything boils down to that. Like everything. It's the only way we get back to some kind of reality of what's realistic. Appreciation and respect for what we are, and a connected world. I think it's that sounds.
No, totally agree. Honestly, I feel like we could chat for ages. We'd come back and do another episode. We've got so much to talk about. But is there anything that you want to close off with?
I think when I talk about it, it can feel quite abstract and big. And I think it's what I love to get across is the mission is big. It's huge. But the reason it's huge is just because of the impact it can have.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, it's so simple. Improving your well-being can be done really simply. If you're struggling doing it, it's probably because you're trying to do it on your own.
Yeah.
And just simple shifts in language can really truly start to change patterns in your mind.